I'm back. I've been on hiatus for quite a while here, but I've been working on the van, and I'm going to show you what I've done because I've done quite a bit of work. So start with, I replaced my sway bar. So if you look closely, this sway bar, this is the end, I cut it off to remove it, is broken. And if you look at the other side, it is just as broken. It is completely in two pieces. So a new sway bar has been in, and while I was down there, I greased up everything. Anyways, that's not that interesting. What is more interesting is we're gonna get right ahead and look into this. Because if you remember, when last time I drove this, it was Canada Day, which was a month ago, which is kind of sad. Anyways, it was a month ago. I had developed a slow start. So I basically kind of went scorched earth theory, and I replaced everything that I thought it could be, and that's sort of where I'm at now. So let's check this out. Okay, so now we're under the hood here, and you can see the biggest addition is this new 190 amp alternator. So I bought that alternator from Rock Auto. It was about 180 bucks because this whole slow start condition started on like the first big trip that I used my fridge, so I couldn't help but think that I didn't have enough power. So I guess there's a way to calculate how much power you use, but I personally am never gonna do that. So I just said, screw it, 180 bucks, Rock Auto. I'm gonna buy a new alternator, high output. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And then while I was at it, because I bought a WAI brand alternator, I bought a WAI brand starter because it was only 90 bucks, I think, and it was from the same warehouse, so the shipping was marginally more expensive. So I replaced starter, alternator, and then if we look over here, I got a new ground battery terminal. I also basically twinned my ground line, so now I have two grounds, doubled up my ground capacity. And if you look, I have this extra wire here running up my firewall, this big 200 amp A&L fuse through there, down, and that's my new charging cable coming off the back of the alternator. It's 4-gauge wire, and I left the original wire as is, and I just basically twinned it up. So now I have, I'll say double the capacity, but you know, like I have two wires. Oh, just a bug flying in my nose, I think. Wires. That threw me off, but yeah, so I have alternator, new wiring, all running to the battery. Battery was tested at Canadian Tire. That was the first thing that I did, because anything electrical, the first thing to check out is the battery. So I got it tested, and I have 768 cold cranking amps, and it was rated at 800. So I have plenty, and the voltage was 12.68. So they told me it was plenty good. So the battery was not the problem. So the alternator is 190 amps. On Rock Auto, it said it was 220 amps, which was frankly like way too high, because originally I was thinking about doing a junkyard upgrade, but then I realized how inexpensive this was, so I just went for it. But it actually gives you a test paper with all the information and some graphs that I honestly don't know what any of it means, but it says it's 190 amps. So that's the alternator. And we'll go down here. This is my old alternator. I don't know if it's good or bad, but I felt like this was a worthwhile upgrade considering I do have two batteries and I'm going to run a fridge. And here's my starter. This again came with computer tested quality assurance. So I guess they test all this stuff before it leaves the factory, which I thought was actually a really good feature, I guess you'd say. And this is my old starter. You can see this wire is pretty corroded. This bolt actually broke off as soon as I tried to undo it. So I actually think my starter might have been my problem. It might have just been failing, and all the wires were, like I said, pretty corroded. So I cleaned up every wire, installed alternator, ran new charging cable, upgraded my grounds. So I just got to finish putting everything back together here, and then I'm going to give it a start up, and we'll find out if this is problem solved or not. Cool. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth time. Key in. Let's start. It sounded a little bit weird, but I feel like that was probably first start, new alternator, belt adjusting, all that shit. But let's see how this goes. I'm gonna go test the voltage on my battery here. .65, higher than I was expecting, but I don't think that's bad. Well, that sounds plenty good to go. The volts have kind of stabilized at 14.4, 14.3. So I feel like everything's running good. So I feel like I'm good to go. That's it. Back on the road.